and happy Earth Day. And I realized it's been so long, sometimes we forget a little bit about what day it is, and I wanted to remind us. But I'm also, my astrological sign is Taurus, and as I read up on that, I don't know much about it, but it says it's an earth sign, and perhaps that's part of the reason why I feel so connected to the earth and with a deep passion. So that's what I'd like to focus on, think about today. It's a little bit different for me. I'm sharing in a different format. We'll talk about it in a second. I'm also heavily influenced by a theologian by the name of Matthew Fox, and he has a book entitled Creation Spirituality, which is the awareness of creation and our connections, not only to the earth, but to the universe. And that is the source of spirituality for me. Creation spirituality is abiding in the realization that in our very being, we are connected to the earth. Creation is all that is. All things are creation. Everything. And it is also breathing. The Hebrew word for spirit is ruach, which means breath. So we focus on breathing and we focus on creation. God is the creator. Our sense of connection with creation is also fundamental to the native people who lived here on this land before any of us and any of our ancestors came here. These days, it seems sometimes we slip away from an active understanding that we are part of creation. And my abiding sense of creation and spirituality involves a connection to the earth, and that's the core of my faith. As a child, I spent time on my grandparents' farm in rural Oklahoma. And from the time I was 12 or 13 years old, Grandpa had me on the tractor mowing and helping him plow the fields. And it was an incredible experience because my grandfather had a way of making me feel needed and important. Sometimes when I would leave to go back to Oklahoma City, to where my parents lived, where I lived, I would be concerned that grandfather would have trouble getting all the chores done because I was no longer there to help him. And I've talked to my cousins, and the amazing thing about my grandfather is that he made us all feel important and needed. What a great gift that still abides with me today. But more important, I loved it. I loved the farm. I loved the woods, the trees, the ponds, all the animals. I was always an outdoor kind of guy, and still am. Although hiking with my physical disabilities these days is not quite an option, but I still enjoy being outdoors more than anything. When I was young, I used to set a tent up in the backyard, and I would sleep out in the backyard instead of in my bedroom in the house. From the earth, I received a peaceful calmness. Bird songs were symphonies for me. Later on, when I moved to Kentucky, I made so many treks to the Red River Gorge, I couldn't even begin to count them. And when my children came, I dragged them down there, and when they were 4 and 5 years old, they were there hiking back 2 or 3 miles into the backwoods where we camped together and have many fond family memories. The Red River Gorge and the outdoors afforded me a respite from the intensity of urban life. Outdoors became a major part of my career, too. I went through outward bound training and became an outward bound instructor, and I took urban children into the wilderness to help them become more comfortable with the earth and feeling safe there. So many of them had images of the chainsaw atrocities, everything that horror movies had done to make it harder for these children to just relax and be okay in the environment. So I worked hard on that. I took them outdoors for healing and for learning. And now in my urban setting, living in the Highlands, I've tried to gather the earth around me. One of the first things I did about 20 years ago was plant about 22 trees on my small urban lot. Most of them river birch, but tulip poplar, redbud, dogwood, sweet gum, a variety of trees. And now, 20 years later, it's just a little bit like being in the Red River Gorge, although I'm sitting right next door to a parking lot. But it helps soften that hard edge of parking lots and streets and pavements and noise. So I'll share some more as we move on. I want to share my experience of creation spirituality with you and what it means to me. And I'm using selected songs and poems, some of which I have written, some of which are borrowed. And I'm going to start off with the song that you know, and what I'd like for us to do is visualize the images in this song, and also feel free to sing along because I know you know it. But let's use it as a meditation for getting in touch with what a wonderful world it is. I see trees of green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see colors of the rainbow so pretty in the sky, also in the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, oh, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Long before stories were told, before time, before beginnings, a primal awareness stirred the darkness, moving and shape-shifting along the arc of time, begetting and defining space. The unknown came rising up into the knowing mind, fomenting endless possibilities of being in an ever-expanding universe of love and grace. I have traced our bloodlines in 1,000 rushing streams, in creation's pageantry of being, moving in the mind of mystery. Mountains thrusting upward, valleys carved into solid rock. The persistent dance of life, the teeming salmon's surge, the migratory pattern of birds, in thundering herds of African wildebeest, in nebula coalescing into stars, the pillars of creation, the celestial birthing of galaxies. And I know the force that drives creation is the force that shapes us in a sacred, ancient circle of becoming. Creation bears witness to a sacred continuum that respects each part of the whole, sows the seed of love in the soul, and summons us to galactic communion. This is a song that I wrote a few years ago, and I've probably sung it here before. But it's a joy to sing it again with you and for you in the context of this Earth Day, because it's an early articulation of how this day, what it means to me. The earth holds the tree, the leaves hold the sunshine, the limbs hold the wind holds the clouds. Clouds fill the oceans when the raindrops pour, and the oceans are holding the shore. The sea and the shore, hand in hand, greet the dawning of life, footprints in the sand. From the very beginning to the place where we stand, we're drawing our life from the land. In its circular motion, the moon moves the ocean, gives us the notion of true harmony. The cycle enfolds us, creation holds us in the heart of life's great mystery. And we're travelers all on this little blue ball. Hear the sounds of the people, hear the wild birds call, hear the voices of creatures blending as one. Together we circle the sun. Gives us the notion of true harmony. The cycle enfolds us, creation holds us in the heart of life's great mystery. And we're travelers all on this little blue ball. Hear the sounds of the people, hear the wild birds call, hear the voices of creatures blending as one. Together we circle the sun. I was thinking about caves. And for a good portion of my life, I explored caves. We went caving. Some people said, "Oh, spelunking." And I said, "No, that sounds too hoity-toity. We're just caving, dude, you know. We're going in caves." And, you know, what I found out about all the high adventure activities I did, from rock climbing, rappelling, caving, that it became a metaphor, and actually more than a metaphor, for my own development spiritually. I understood that fear of heights, acrophobia, was tied to a fear of assuming power, your own personal power. I understood that claustrophobia was a fear of engulfment, being taken over. And when I would go into caving, I made sure that I went in the tightest places possible. Sometimes you had to exhale and pop through a very tight place. And then, you know, think a little bit about how you're going to get back out, you know. But I learned so much from all that activity, and it touched something deep in my soul. And that, I think, is the seed of what creation spirituality means. The more I came in contact with the earth and all that entails, and creation, the more spiritually aware it was taking me. So, thinking about all this stuff and how this cave that I'm in, and sometimes I would go in and I would stay 3 or 4 nights inside the cave, never come out. I found caves, the Sinks of the Roundstone down in Rockcastle County, Worley's Cave down in Tennessee, and I would go in there most of the time with people because it's safer that way. In case you get hurt, you don't want to be in there, remembering the story of Floyd Collins. And I explored the cave, and I contemplated and thought about how it all started as a tiny little trickle of water. And over tens of thousands of years, it carved out an incredible cavern. So I wrote this poem. I have contemplated rivulets etching limestone pathways through time. A motion so slight and subtle as to go unnoticed becomes a river running through silent canyons and subterranean cathedrals. The river finds its way. Stolid rock yields to carving. The sojourner stands alone, and the patient will of God makes room for grace in hearts of stone. Thinking also of a song I wrote called Earth Heart, and I'll do it now. It involves a little bit of percussion on your part, and we'll get it right. I think we've sung it here before. Together, united by our common place of birth, we are the human family, sister, brother, and we celebrate the earth. Unfolds above us. The rich brown earth rolls beneath our feet. Mother Nature makes her sacred promise, and we feel the earth heart beat. Your percussion part comes like this. Let us join our hands and hearts together. Clap, clap, clap. United by our common place of birth. We are the human family, sister, brother, and we celebrate the earth. 2, 3, clap, clap. little bit of a hesitation there on the end. Try it again. Let us join our hands and hearts together, united by our common place of birth. We are the human family, sister, brother, and we celebrate the earth. Blue sky unfolds above us, and the rich brown earth rolls beneath our feet. Mother Nature makes her sacred promise, and we feel the earth heartbeat. Y'all are pretty good. Quick study. So I was contemplating the gift of creation and also living in the Highlands. And I've lived in the same house for 35 years, and 35 years ago it was relatively quiet. There was no Wix Pizza. It was pretty cool, you know. Nowadays it's noisy. Sometimes it's hard for me to find a place to park, and it's more of a challenge, this urban living. But we're taking steps to improve that. In addition to the 22 trees that I planted in my yard, we still have about 19 of them. We lost a couple of them. And when lightning struck one, the weeping cherry, which bothered me, but couldn't do much about it. But we have created our haven in an urban environment, and it helps me understand. Sometimes we think, well, I'm going to get close to the earth, so I'm going to pack up all my stuff and go to the Red River Gorge or go to Yosemite or go someplace. And those are good things to do, and I do them all the time. But I also realize that on a daily basis, we can connect to the earth right there in the Highlands. So we have a little campfire pit, a little contained fire, but you can still see the flames. And it's mesmerizing just to sit and watch. And as the evening falls, last night we enjoyed the campfire, and I sat out with my son, and we just talked and watched the fire. And it was a powerful experience, and it is part of a healing. And I thought about that as I looked at all my tulip poppers and redbuds and witch hazel, sweet gum trees, river birch trees, and we're sitting in this little enclave, and these words are in my heart. Following a tribal ritual of gathering around campfires, in the backyard, we define the perimeter of darkness and enter the sanctuary of light. Smoke rises through tulip poplar. Kaleidoscopic flames dance a fluttering succession of images. Dark hands come to rest in comforting shadows on the shoulders of night. Cicadas sing above traffic noise. Street lights flicker through leaves. Redbuds lean toward light. Witch hazel, sweet gum, and river birch nurture a soothing communion amid the din of an urban Saturday night. So, this is my way of surviving and staying in touch with the earth. And I'm going to close out with this prayer. It's part of the poem that I read at the beginning. It's the final prayer in thanksgiving for creation. And we lift this prayer to all of creation. Eternal One, in our first moment when we were both void and without form, we reached deeply into the protean waters of elemental being, and from the wellspring of imagination brought you with us to life. Since that first exclamation when you smiled, saying, "It is good," we have shaped each other. Our deepest longing for the highest good fashioned you, our guide to becoming. In our mythic stories, you are the rising star. When we lose our way, your visage leads us back to who we are. You are the reference point eternally defining us. O primordial likeness, lead us to be creatures of light. We'll sing this song, All My Life's a Circle. Then we'll have offering and maybe another song. This is a Harry Chapin song. Sing it with me. All my life's a circle, sunrise and sundown, sunrise and sundown. The moon rolls through the nighttime till the daybreak comes around. And all my life's a circle, I can't tell you why. The seasons spinning round again, the years keep rolling by. Seems like I've been here before, I can't remember when, but I get this funny feeling that I'll be back once again. 'Cause there's no straight lines make up my life, all my roads have been. There's no clear-cut beginnings, so far no dead end. 'Cause all my life's a circle, sunrise and sundown. The moon rolls through the nighttime till the daybreak comes around. And all my life's a circle, I can't tell you why. The seasons spinning round again, the years keep rolling by. The years keep rolling